Big news for the Noles today, both literally and figuratively. When we say big today, we're not kidding. They get a 6'4", 320-plus pound offensive line commit out of the transfer portal from none other than the Alabama Crimson Tide. Terrence Ferguson II commits to the Noles and will look to solidify the offensive line room even more than it already is. Now, Ferguson spent 3 years with the Alabama Crimson Tide. He redshirted his first season, and he does have 2 years of eligibility remaining. Side note, Ferguson goes by TJ and wears number 69, which is pretty nice. If you like that, give this video a thumbs up. In the 2021 class, he was the number 58 overall player, a very highly ranked 4-star, and the second highest rated interior offensive lineman in the class that year. He played one game in 2021. He played in 2022 as a backup, and in 2023 started his first game against USF. He played 5 games as a depth or rotational piece. I spoke with some folks at and close to Alabama, and they really like this pickup for the Seminoles. In fact, they did not want to lose this kid. There were rumors about where he might end up, and one of the biggest options and one of the biggest things that we continue to hear was, hey, he may just end up going back to Bama. We heard some conflicting reports throughout the last week that we really weren't sure where and what to put our finger on. But honestly, on Wednesday night, we got a little bit of news, and obviously some of the biggest news to ever hit college football happened with Nick Saban retiring, and at that point, we became pretty confident. Our sources let us know that Ferguson likely would be a Nole. So we told our Discord about that. We told Patreon about that. So if you haven't joined over there, you can go do that at patreon.com/DFNS. Message me there or at my email address, which you can find here on the channel, with any questions. Alabama did not want to lose this piece. Alabama knows that they breed offensive linemen. They breed solid trench play. They were one of the few that was able to compete with UGA and Michigan in their final 2 games of the year in the trenches. And Ferguson certainly would have been a piece that they would have liked to have kept. But he will come in for the Noles and have an opportunity to make a massive impact. Alex Atkins does it again. A lot of people have been doubting Coach Atkins, and we'll talk more about him in just a moment. But you have to really like this pickup from that perspective as well. Really impressive pull here, and I like his strength and athleticism a ton. That's when speaking with folks at Alabama and around that program. That's what they really like too. A kid who is really big, but who moves really well. Really good run blocker. I think I like the run blocking aspect, maybe a little bit more than the pass blocking, but really above average and solid in both. I don't think he'll be a liability on or under either of those. And I'm also excited to see how he looks working under Alex Atkins, who I think is a really good offensive line coach. Also really like the fact that he's been in an SEC, as many jokes as we want to make about it, as much hate as we want to give them. I like that he's been in an SEC and Alabama specifically strength and conditioning program for the first 3 years of his career. I like that he has multiple years left. You'll notice a theme when Norvell and this staff goes after portal guys. Certainly they take some one-year guys. There's no doubt about it when you think about Keon, Jermaine Johnson, and others. But when you can get multiple years out of these high-level recruits and commits out of the portal, that's a big deal. It's a commit, so you know what we do. It seems like all I do anymore on this channel in January is commitment videos. We have our Battles End quarter zip. Listen, if you're already a Battles End member, go celebrate this by getting some gear over at thebattlesend.com. I'm telling you, this quarter zip is the best thing they have there. If you are more daring and you don't have 3 kids that are 5 and under, maybe try the white one. I could never pull that off because, first of all, I'm a big kid myself, but second of all, the kids would certainly ruin that. This hides a few of the stains that I already have on it. Go over to the Battles End and make sure you're supporting there. If you like pulling high 4-star offensive linemen from Alabama, if you like the fact that this is our 3rd commit from Alabama already through this portal cycle, then go make sure you're supporting at thebattlesend.com. We'll have 10,000 people watch this. They've got a little over 5,000 members over at thebattlesend.com. Make sure that you're joining today. Let's bump those numbers up. Let's continue the positive momentum on that front. Appreciate the Battles End for all that they do. Massive shout out to Alex Atkins. He certainly has something to sell with the offensive line and what he's done in the transfer portal, getting the absolute most out of guys. You think about Big Meech, you think about Dylan Gibbons really starting it, you think about others that we've brought in, from Roddick to Byers to really just a whole host of big-time players along that offensive line. You think about Keandre Jones, you think about Demetri May. There's a lot of guys who have made a big impact for this offensive line. And Atkins has done a good job getting guys to just plug in and fill in and really become part of that unit. It's kind of a multi-layered approach that happens at the offensive line at Florida State. They certainly want to continue to develop and recruit at a high level. You think about Jalen Early and Julian Armella from a couple of classes ago. You think about this, most recent year with Lucas Simmons. You think about what they've done with this most recent class, getting in ITT, getting in Jonathan Daniels. I think that they are doing a good job recruiting. They also have a 5-star committed in the 2025 class, Solomon Thomas. But sometimes you just need men that are grown and ready to go, and you plug and you fill your holes there, and you kind of have a multi-layered approach to the offensive line. I think that Florida State will always recruit that position very well and put a massive importance on it. That was one of the issues with the last coaching staff or 2 coaching staffs ago, is they stopped their emphasis on the offensive line. That position group became a weakness after 2013. And I don't believe that it'll ever be a weakness at Florida State again. Will it be the strongest in the country? Will we get it up to the Michigan level that we saw this year, or Georgia or Alabama? I don't know. I hope so. But I know that it won't be a weakness because of the 2-tiered approach. They're going to continue to develop young guys, and they're going to continue to bring in a lot of talent that they really like, but they're also going to search the portal for guys who can make an immediate impact. Ferguson is that guy, and he certainly can make a quick impact for the Noles this year. Is this part of the Saban effect? I don't believe that it's coincidence that shortly after Saban's announcement comes out, we do get the news from Ferguson that he is committing to the Seminoles. I think that's a big deal. And I think Florida State found a way to pounce here and said, let's ride. The idea that he might go back to Alabama was one that certainly was on Florida State's mind and certainly on my mind. And we had talked about it over in the Discord again. If you're not over there, you should be. But it was something that certainly worried me. Competing with Alabama for one of their own is tough. It's tough enough to get them to enter the portal. It's even tougher to try and steal them away from Nick Saban. When Nick Saban's saying, come back, Nick Saban not being there is certainly a big deal for Florida State. I had gotten a little word earlier in the day that Florida State's confidence was starting to brim up, that this was going to be a battle, but Florida State wins most of the battles that they're in when it comes to the transfer portal. I don't think that Florida State is necessarily just trying to win 8 or 9 games and be content. I think that Florida State is going for it this year. I think that Florida State wants to be in the playoff, and then they want to make noise. And it's probably on how good the quarterback play is to determine whether or not that's truly possible once they get to the playoff. But they have the pieces right now on this roster to make the 12-team playoff. They could lose 3 games during the regular season and still make it by winning the ACC championship, but I don't think they want to limp into the playoffs. I think they want to win 10, 11, 12 games and get there. And they're certainly adding the pieces to be able to do that. This is now your 3rd commitment from the Alabama Crimson Tide. This is now another commitment that helps your top 5 recruiting portal class. Florida State with one of the best averages in the country. I think they're only second to Ole Miss right now, who is admittedly doing some nice work in the portal as well. But Florida State absolutely crushing it where they always do. Now, there's more work to be done. They got DJ Lundy back, and that was good news for sure. Probably need to add a little bit more to that linebacker room. Don't be surprised if they take another offensive lineman or another defensive lineman. They've certainly done a good job at filling out most of this roster. Can they add another strategic piece or 2 to truly go for things, go for it all, ready to respond, as the Battles In says, in 2024? I think so. Mike Norvell is reminding everyone that he is the portal king. And when it comes to the portal, when Mike Norvell wants somebody, he goes out and lands them, and he gets them. A lot of people say that college football is being ruined by NIL or ruined by the transfer portal. The numbers just don't back that up. You personally may not like it, and that's totally fine. But as the sport continues to grow, as viewership continues to grow, and you see the national championship was one of the most viewed national championships of all time. I believe it was the most since 4 years ago. You see that this sport is going nowhere. And Mike Norvell, who was an innovator in the transfer portal, continues to dominate it. Terrence Ferguson Jr., massive commitment today. I think his impact will be so far-reaching. This is a huge one for the Noles. We've had big ones. We've hyped some of them. This one is a no-doubter. massive, massive commitment for the Noles as they look to absolutely go nuts in 2024 and do their very best to have no drop off. We'll talk more about it in the Discord. We'll talk more about it over with our Patreon members over there. If you have any questions on that, you can email me, tj@doublefriesnoslaw.com. Make sure that you're locked in with us on the channel. We'll talk to you soon. Go Noles.